honestly the very first time I ever spoke up against authority. And that was pretty wild in my family. And luckily, this particular doctor had other patients who'd had near-death experiences. And they took me off that one antibiotic. And within 24 hours, I left the hospital on my own power. And it completely changed my life, my world, and my trajectory. Because I've learned, Steve, that the most important stories are the stories we tell ourselves. And before that, all I was saying was that I had to be worthy and that I wasn't worthy and that I wasn't worthy even of God or of breath. And after that, I learned my ikigai, which is my reason for breathing, my reason for being. And the other is I just love people and their stories. And I love to be one who helps people to bring their stories out into the world. And now they're these incredible contributions to society.
Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Business with a servant's heart. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk on life. Our guest will share his life story. We want you to success in life. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk on life. We're gonna talk on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are gonna witness.
Shout out to my sponsors, A Mind for All Seasons. Your brain is your greatest competitive edge, so why not optimize it? Just text OPTIMIZE to 72000, 72000 for instant access to 6 quick videos that help you think faster, remember more, and stay focused longer. A big thanks to Epic App, the 4-step storytelling system I use every day to connect and to convert. Try it free. Email me at stever1961@gmail.com. That's stevr1961@gmail.com, and I'll get you the free app. Doing Business with a Servant's Heart was just named top 6 in small business marketing. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. I am super fired up today because guess what? I am launching a new podcast called Stories Across the Table, and I'm interviewing my co-host, absolutely faith-driven, incredible woman that loves to tell stories. And even more so, her story is amazing. The lessons you're going to learn, inspirations, motivation, you may tear up, I may tear up. That's what they're about. We want to make that impact, and she's doing that daily with her group of people she works with and her clients. But let's jump into our gratitude card before we start. Let me remind you, you are a gift to this world. Holy mackerel, is this not a perfect gratitude for all of you, but for my guest, because she's been a wonderful gift to me, and I thank her. Let's bring her on. Bridget, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. I'm so delighted to be here. And what a beautiful card to pull up, because you and I both love stories, and I feel like every story is a gift. So today, that's a perfect way to start.
Oh my God, that's so true. We're going to not usually start my podcast this way, but your story is so incredible and so much lessons and things in depth. Tell us your story.
Well, I will tell you that I had foundations to my story that have set me on a course that that I find just absolutely beautiful and full of gratitude about it. But it didn't start that way. When I was younger, I had this big wound because by the time I was 6 months old, I had 3 sets of parents. And always in the back of my mind, I was thinking, I must have not been good enough. I must have not been smart enough or pretty enough that they had to give me away. And so in that little girl, I just always felt like the big people were going to leave and that I really needed to somehow prove myself worthy of even breathing. And so it's, I went on a path. I grew up Catholic in a Mormon town, almost became a nun, but I didn't feel worthy of that. There were just all these things that held me back. But I was going to school, going to college, and having to work 3 jobs because it was a teeny tiny little town and wages were small. And I just kept getting in deeper and deeper debt and started failing in school. And I'd always been a good student, but boy, I was failing in school, failing in all my relationships, and things between my folks and I were really rocky. And so I just kept pushing harder, working more hours, doing everything I could. But I was literally eating myself from the inside out, ulcers and fissures in my colon, and I didn't even know it. But one day I just felt lousy. I didn't realize I'd lost 30 pounds in 3 days. All I knew was that I wanted mom. So I drove down this very steep canyon. I had no business driving, but took the last $5 I had from my waitress job, put money in the pickup, and went down the canyon. And all I could think of was just what a failure I was and not worthy of anything. And I pulled up into my mom's driveway and I needed her, but she was the last person I wanted to see because I was failing everything. And I knocked on her door and she was surprised to open it. And then she took one look at me, Steve, and she just blanched. She's like, "We got to get you to the doctor. Something's wrong." So she tucked me in her car. We drove across town, went into the doctor's office, and I collapsed. Luckily, it was right next door to the hospital. They rushed me in for emergency surgery. They had no idea what was going on, but they found sepsis. And they pumped out pints and pints and pints of this horrific infection, and they put me on intravenous antibiotics, several of them, all on this, IV chain. And the only thing we didn't know was that one of them was killing me. I was allergic. I'd never had it before. No one knew. I just was getting worse instead of better. And so day after day, I'm barely hanging on. And then one night, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I hear the nurses in the corridor and they say, "We better go call her mom and have her come back because she's not going to make it until morning." And I just, Steve, remember just feeling so wretched, not just in my body, but I knew that I was here to do something, that there was a fulfillment of my creation, and I hadn't done it. I had no clue what it was, but I just knew I hadn't done it. And so I was so incredibly sad. And then I had this situation where I get emotional about it. My whole hospital room filled with light, and I had this figure and another figure back here who I realized later was an angel, but just this figure. And I knew him, and he knew me. And he was so full of unconditional love. And he didn't care how much debt I was in. He didn't care that I was failing in school. He didn't care that I was failing in all my relationships. He cared about me. And he just filled me with his unconditional love, like nothing I had ever felt before. My parents were amazing, but this was life altering. And the one of the just the hugest things was to remember being in his presence and everything was vibrating with his love. Like that, I can still remember I was in the flimsy hospital gown, but my skin was vibrating with that love. My metal tray table was vibrating with that love. And I just at one point I hovered over my body and I'm watching my body responding to his love. And then I was back in. It was only momentarily, but it was extraordinary. All the love and the universe, and I felt like I knew everything. And then he told me I was being given a second chance at life. And I can't even tell you like what a gift that felt to me. And I fell asleep for the first time in quite some days, fell asleep without that feverish and the horrific dreams. And I woke up and the nurse is wheeling in more of these intravenous antibiotics. And I said, "Hey, I can have all of these, but not this one." Like I knew this one was killing me. And she's like, "Bridget, this is the only thing saving your life. We thought we were going to lose you last night." And I said, "No, I can't have it. I won't take it." And it was the honestly the very first time I ever spoke up against authority. And that was pretty wild. In my family, you just didn't do that. But she went to talk to the doctor thinking I'm just crazy. And luckily, this particular doctor had other patients who'd had near-death experiences. And he said, well, let's take her off this one. We'll see. We'll see. And they took me off that one antibiotic. And within 24 hours, I left the hospital on my own power. And it completely changed my life, my world, and my trajectory. Because I've learned, Steve, that the most important stories are the stories we tell ourselves. And before that, all I was saying was that I had to be worthy and that I wasn't worthy and that I wasn't worthy even of God or of breath. And after that, I learned my ikigai, which is my reason for breathing, my reason for being. And part of it is to be a joyful servant on this planet and to really fulfill the measure of my creation. And the other is I just love people and their stories. And I love to be one who helps people to bring their stories out into the world. And oftentimes they're not the stories that you might expect. I work with a lot of people who have walked through the depths of hell and come out on the other side in terms of transformation. And now they're these incredible contributions to society. They change society, they move society, they create movements. It's amazing. So
Legacy,
that's a
legacy. That's that
yeah.
comes to my head and mind is legacy, and so many dots to connect there. But I do want to ask you, what's one lesson that you lean on that, going through that story that helps you today?
I would say the biggest thing that has helped me and my clients is to know that every single day is a choice. It's a choice in our health, it's a choice in our business, it's a choice in our prosperity, it's a choice in our relationships, and that we always have the power of the pen to write a new chapter. Doesn't matter how things are going, what failures we've had, we can turn the corner and turn the page and start again. And that's one of the beauties of this life. We have a brand new day, a brand new hour, a brand new minute.
And stories, I'm being blessed right now because blessed that I didn't have to go through that, a near life experience or be rock bottom. I've never been there, but knowing that it can happen inspires me to stay away from the bottom. And it still may happen, but I want you to do something special because you're so wonderful. People in the audience that are at rock bottom or know people at rock bottom, if you could look at them right now, what would you tell them?
Mm. I would tell them that rock bottom is actually a beautiful place for two reasons. Number one, there's only one direction to go. You don't have to fall or fail any further. You're just there. But also, every human goes through what we call the hero's or shero's journey. And we all, at some point in our life, are going to face dark night of the soul, the dark cave where the dragon enters, this rock bottom. And it actually is a place of transformation. It's actually where we come to meet ourselves. And it's a place where we stop blaming the world for any other thing about our choices, and we come to be accountable. And so it's this place that can move you, shape you, sculpt you into something greater. And the greatest thing
Mm.
you can do is to sit in it long enough to be honest with yourself and then to take a step out and go back out, and you still have battles to fight, outer battles and inner battles, because none of it makes you perfect, but wow, do you become better. You can become better and better and better. It's amazing.
The quote you just said is powerful. Sit in it for a while. Audience, write that down. If you know people struggling, don't try to jump out too early. Stay in it, understand it, be self. I mean, I've interviewed 900 people. That is one of the most powerful quotes I've heard because a lot of people are struggling right now. COVID and the world, and there's a lot of fear out there, a lot of bottom out there. So, what you said is
Yeah.
just so extraordinary. I want to jump into books because that's what you do. That's your expertise. But you're unique. You're unique to other publishers is because you do transformative, formative, transformative stories. I could never say that word, but audience, you get what I'm saying. Why was your passion to go to that? Not just write books, but these unique stories.
Well, part of it was after my near-death experience, I was no longer afraid of people. And I also wasn't
Mhm.
afraid of them leaving, right? Because I just knew that there was something greater out there, a greater benevolent force that was looking over us all. And so I was no longer afraid of people, but I could just love them. And I ended up, being able to talk to anybody, no matter their background, their walk of life, because I could love them. And I would also see these threads of stories. So I first started working with gang kids in Denver. And it was at a time that was very, very violent and rough. It was called Blood In, Blood Out. And there were all of these rules, like you had to commit a crime involving blood to get in, and you could never get out. And so all of a sudden, I got to work with these kids and learn their stories and learn that even the darkest of the dark had these transformational abilities and opportunities, especially if someone loved them enough to show them a different way. And so I find out like all these patterns on the heroes and sheroes journey. And I didn't even know. I just discovered it by talking to people and learning about their stories and seeing what happens when we have a mentor, when we have someone who believes in us. And so uh, I started with wanted to write a fictional novel about what I had learned from these kids, and had a dream in the middle of the night, and it was just crazy character scenes, eye color, all kinds of things. And I knew I had the makings of the most incredible novel. And I'm like, I couldn't wait. I'm writing the book, but I didn't know anything about skinheads. That was so clear in my dream. But the kids I worked with were Bloods and Crips and Nuestra Familia and others. And so it was like, okay, I've got to do some research. And I went to do some research, and I was a young mom at the time. So I'm on the internet, and all of a sudden I find this guy, TJ Leiden, and everything that I had written for hours and hours in my fictional novel and everything that he had written on his website were in tandem. And the hero of my story was real. And it just blew me out of the water. And nothing more than when he said, "Hey, I'm looking for someone to write my life story. Would you have him give me a call?" But it was so amazing because I was nervous about it. I was nervous about the content. I was nervous about the dark part of skinheads. But I had learned, like, in the gangs, they're just humans. And they usually got into that because someone talked them into it, or mom and dad were gang members and grandma and grandpa, and it was all they knew. But when you get to the human side, then all of a sudden you see the patterns that
Yeah.
we all have at some point in time or another. And so it started me on a trajectory, and it's about transformation and not about true crime. And I was able to find stories of leadership and stories of mentoring and stories of faith and stories of heart and soul. And I've been able to do extraordinary people, ordinary people doing extraordinary things, is what I would say.
Power, power, power. Heroes or sheroes? Write that down. I love that phrase, taking the female side with that. Well, this is doing business with a servant's heart. Servant's heart means empathy. If you don't have empathy, everybody has empathy, but if you don't bring it out, you can't serve. It's just they go hand in hand like peanut butter and jelly. How do you bring empathy into your business? Because it's not easy for some people.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I've worked with some of the darkest stories of humankind into that transformation. But I still held my judgments, right? I mean, we're all human. We see
Sure.
the world through lenses and things. But I'll tell you what, anytime I have held a judgment, God will send a story. And all of a sudden, I learned the deeper parts of how this person got into this and what happened here. And there is natural empathy and compassion. Can I share a story with you? I
Absolutely.
get to do these inspired writers retreats just a couple times a year, small groups, 20 people. We're just plunge into stories. And it's always interesting to see who God brings to the table. And I'm always like, I get to be the facilitator, but it's fascinating. People from all around the world will come. And a couple years ago, I had groups. It was very interesting. It was like they were either very left or very right. And they even said to each other, if I met you on the street, I wouldn't be able to stand you. Like they just like extreme in their views. And so I'm like, okay, God, whatever you have planned for this weekend, you facilitate. So I just kept listening and listening, but each of their stories was so extraordinary. And pretty soon they started to share. And pretty soon those dividing lines were gone. And pretty soon they developed friendships. And by the Sunday, I still get choked up about it. They were hugging each other. They were making sure everybody was on a phone list. They wanted to stay in touch with one another. They genuinely cared because story brought them to this common level of humanity. And I was in awe. And I was like, wow, thank you. And it happened to be the same weekend that the Hamas bombed Israel. And I'm not one ever to take sides, but I saw this spectrum of what is possible in humanity, this coming together through stories, and also the horrificness that humans can do when we break it down to stereotypes instead of stories. And so always, if we care enough to listen, there will always be something in common that will bring us together, and that will give us an opportunity for furthering relationships, for furthering community, for furthering even nations and the world forward. It's incredible.
Yeah, what a story. And what comes to my head is the world's good and evil. It's not going to be all good for a long time, probably past our lifetimes. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer here, but there's a lot of work the world has to do. But if we can do good, more the good than evil in our individual worlds. I used to say this as a kid. I wrote this down, not a kid, but in my 20s and 30s. I say, take care of your own little world. And Bridget, you take care of your own little world. And we put all these worlds together. It's exactly what you did at your seminar. And they're like, wait a minute, let's make this world a bigger place. That's how we can change the world. Me and you can't do it ourselves. We know that, and that's okay. But if we start community coming together, our tribes, whatever you want to call it, it's powerful. See, you showed how empathy is so important. But let's talk from the business side, just real quick, coming to the end here. Your book. Now, I've had people come to me and go, I would write a book and be a New York, Amazon bestseller. I hate to be again another Debbie Downer, but that doesn't really mean a lot because you have New York bestsellers. What should somebody do? What should be their thought process before they write a book?
Well, in my opinion, the greatest miracles that have happened in my career and the careers that I see of others are the doors that open when you choose to serve someone with your story. You know, you've been on your own hero's journey. You have something to say. You have something to share. You've come back with a gift now. And if you think about who you want to serve and the specific ways that you want to serve them, the impact you want for them to have, just by reading your book, that it creates miracles because it creates an energy of its own. And you may not be a New York Times bestseller or a Wall Street Journal or an Amazon bestseller, but I will say this, it will find its way into the hearts and hands of those who need to read it. But you still need to be visible. So be as visible as you possibly can. That's business. That's business. Be visible so that they know about you and they know about your book. But the impact and the energy and the intention that you have behind it, 1,000% will be what guides and drives the doors that open for you and for your readers.
I couldn't, that is so well said. I've asked that question multiple times. That's impact. Dollars come, they don't, they don't. Your impact is universal change and something will open a door, like you said. And it's interesting, a publisher is a faith-driven publisher. So he's a lot like you. He's really looking for good transformational stories. He said, your book is your business card. Imagine somebody puts it on your coffee table and they get to see it every day. And somebody comes to visit and goes, that's Steve Ramona's book. It does this, this, and this. That's more of an impact than a business card all day, all night. And so if you're a business owner, entrepreneur out there, those are reasons to write a book. Everything else will come. It's the cherry on the cake. We're coming to the end here. We're going to bring you back because there's so much more we can talk about. Let's get to know Bridget a little deeper. So you're in Nashville, right? If I remember, you're in Nashville, right? Do you live in
I'm
that?
what?
Do you live in Nashville?
Oh, Nashville. No, I live in Utah. I'm up at
Utah. That's
the
right.
base
Yeah.
of
Yeah, that's right. You
ski
were
resort.
saying
Yeah.
that Catholic and Mormon. Yeah. So we're going to come to your favorite restaurant in Utah where you live. I'm going to come order a table. I want you to invite 3 people who've been inspirational or motivational or made a difference in your life, whether dead or alive, doesn't matter. But for Steve, what I need to know is what food are you ordering for the table? Because I'm a foodie.
I love it. I love it. So we would want to go to Tiburon, and they have a large complexity of flavors. And so first we'd have to have a variety of appetizers that, you know, titillated the tongue and helped us, warm the crowd and enjoy. And then they have the most succulent seafood. And even just, being in Utah, they have things flown in. And then they have incredible steaks.
Ooh, that sounds good. So who's sitting with us at the table?
Okay, that's the best because I can forget the food
Yeah, yeah.
if I was sitting
Me too. I
sitting
just had
with
to add
you.
I'm a food. Yeah, I'm with you. The people are the most important.
So these were have been mentors along my way. So dead or alive, you said. So Jesus Christ, Nelson Mandela, and Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa said, "I am the pen in the hand of a God who is writing a love letter to the world." And she immediately became my mentor.
Oh, that is so beautiful. I've never heard that
Is that?
before. Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's beautiful. Audience, write that down. That's something you should be waking up to every morning. Wow, that's powerful.
No matter what background or business you're in,
Yep.
be the pen in the hand of a God writing a
Yeah.
love letter to you. Yeah.
It's so beautiful. What a way to end. Thank you for being an incredible guest and being very humble and transparent, telling your story. It's become a victory. It was not a victory at the beginning, but now it's a victory. You're helping so many people. I know people listening may want to write a book or connect with you. How can they do that?
Oh, I welcome it. I love it. So you can find me at yourinspiredstory.com and also Inspired Writers Retreats. And I'm on social media, particularly Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. And I would just love to become your friend and hear your story.
So I'm going to do something. You don't know I'm doing this, and I'm going to do something special. Audience, now you've got her contact info. I'm going to send you 3 people a gift. The first 3 people that reach out to Bridget and mention the podcast, I'm going to send you her book for free. I'll get it mailed to you. So here's what you do is reach out, mention the podcast. She will get your contact information and send it to me, or she'll give you my email and you can connect with me. I'll get your address and I'll send you a book. Because you know what? If I can impact 3 more people, the world's a better place. And the other thing, the CTA, go ahead.
Your choice of several books. So that will be
Yes.
fantastic.
Yeah, and you can actually, when you talk to her, ask what book you want to get, and whatever book you want, I'll make sure you get that. The other thing is subscribe to the podcast or YouTube channel. And she mentioned earlier about gifts with stories, but you're listening to this podcast and you got a friend that's struggling about writing a book. Why should they? This is a perfect podcast. Or they want to be motivated they're at rock bottom right now and they need some motivation, some hope. Hello, Bridget's the hope. She's given me hope and I've never hit rock bottom. What a gift that is to impact others with these wonderful podcasts. So mine or any others or across the table, stories across the table, our new podcast, whatever it is, if it resonates with you and you can help somebody and give them a gift, please do that. With that being said, me and Bridget want to thank everyone for watching or listening to this podcast. And we'll see everybody in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.